I think we're so early still. Retail has not arrived. The institutions really haven't arrived yet. We're going so much higher. You reach an inflection point where it just feeds on itself and cannot be stopped. It's that gradually then suddenly moment. It's going to feel like a much more compressed timeline than what people are expecting.
It seems like we have entered this new era of Bitcoin, if you will. I mean, it's kind of over the last year, 2 years. It feels different to me. But where do you think we are in this cycle? It's kind of strange because we've seen both Bitcoin be the leader, whereas these other secondary, I guess you'd call them major alts, or I don't even know what you call them. But like you've seen them kind of go flat, but then you've seen these like meme coins spike. And in past cycles, you usually see the meme coins. It goes in you go Bitcoin and then these other altcoins, and then you see the meme coins spike at the end. That's typically what you see. But right now you have this like meme coins are spiking. There's like speculation, there's fervor elsewhere. And then you have Bitcoin just kind of dominating in a way. It's kind of a strange in terms of like trying to figure out where we are in the cycle. So what's your take? Like, do you think we're still early? Do you think, we're midway through?
I think that's an indication that there's a large decoupling actually happening in people's mind for Bitcoin as being Bitcoin and what it is. And then all this other stuff is just kind of like speculative mania and, gambling. And, it's perfectly fine for people who want to gamble. Like I don't blame you for wanting to try to turn $100 into 10 million or whatever, right? Like, you probably shouldn't do that with the entire portfolio that you're doing, but go have fun, right? But I think there's absolutely recognition that Bitcoin is here to stay and is something to be taken very seriously. The Ethereum side of this and the Ethereum ETF, I don't really think that has as big of a bang, especially over a medium to long-term time horizon as Bitcoin will. I think we're just kind of in this cycle of pump what you can, make those fees, but the fundamentals are still at play here. And Ethereum is going to continue to bleed out versus Bitcoin over the long term in terms of its valuation. In terms of like the cycle itself, I think we're so early still. I don't know about you, but I have very few people in my like normal social circle outside of the Bitcoin world asking me about it. Every once in a while, hey, how's crypto going or whatever, but it's very few who are like asking me how to buy it and doing all of that. Like retail has not arrived. The institutions really haven't arrived yet. We're maybe starting to see the inkling of that come into play, but we're still so early in the cycle.
I agree. I think we are very early. I don't think retail more broadly is here, or at least like no new entrants, I would say. And the first wave of ETF buying was mostly retail investors. I think it just takes time for these institutional investors to wrap their heads around. There's like due diligence they have to do from a compliance standpoint on any kind of new ETF products. It just takes time, which makes me extremely bullish. And you're just starting to see like these MicroStrategy copycats come out now.
Yeah.
And a lot of these companies are sitting on a lot of cash. And I think they're going to continue to start to, like, the light bulb's going to go off, especially when you look at MicroStrategy and the stock performance there, and they start to ask questions like, what the heck's going on over there?
Yeah, it's one thing to have one eccentric dude who's out there like buying up a bunch of Bitcoin and taking on debt and leveraging the capital markets to, build this massive position in MicroStrategy. It's a whole other thing if there start to become these copycats who are doing very much similar strategy and are also performing very well. Like that starts to become something that CEOs and boards of directors can't ignore. They have to start at least asking the question, hey, should we consider doing something like this? Should we maybe dip our toe in? It can't be called an anomaly anymore, or, oh, this guy got lucky after multiple companies are doing the same thing.
Yeah, no, pension funds. I mean, it just starts again. It's the game theory. It's the awareness. It's just like trickles, but then turns into a flood pretty quick. And so I do think we're really early. And the fact of the matter is we're still hovering around the previous all-time high. To me, like the bull run really gets started when you kind of break that with with momentum and you really get into price discovery. Right now, we're just kind of consolidating around the previous all-time high. And so I know it kind of feels like we've had this crazy big rally over the last year, and it's gone up from what, like 17,000 to where we are now. But really, I don't even think, I think if you're here and you've enjoyed that, like, good for you. But I still think we have a ways away in terms of this cycle, which gets me excited.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We're going so much higher. Do we break the cycle of, lower returns, you think? Or is it still going to be
Oh,
like maybe a 4 or 5x from here
look, I get I
instead of
get
like a
the I
20x?
get the thesis, but it's hard when it's like we're getting into this next level of like capital and these money managers who have so much capital to dispense. It's just like you could see how that could break a little bit. Also, I can see both sides of the coin, being just like the law of large numbers, and it just, to double a market cap that's already at 1.4 trillion just takes a lot of money. I get it, but at the same time, we're so early in terms of corporate adoption, institutional adoption, um, you know, state adoption. Like, who knows what we could see? Sovereign wealth funds. There's so much fiat out there, and Bitcoin is such a small asset that I think you could see that trend break a little bit. But I'd
Yeah,
love to hear
it,
your
it
thoughts.
really is like trying to shove the ocean into a garden hose, right? Like there's
Yeah.
no there's no way that that works unless you massively expand the size of that hose.
I know. Yeah. So, I mean, I would love to get your thoughts. It just, we are entering this new era, and if it could get a little bit crazy, I think.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the stock to FOMO model. I think that's my favorite
Sucks.
one. I think that one is going to be what most maps to reality. Um, that you reach an inflection point where it just feeds on itself and cannot be stopped. It's that gradually then suddenly moment, and suddenly probably happens over the course of a decade, but it's going to feel like a much more compressed timeline than what people are expecting. And I think it's going to take a lot of people by surprise. I think one of the biggest dark horses that Bitcoin has going for it is actually on the energy side, and mining being incorporated into the energy producers and the energy infrastructure around the world. I think very few people see that coming in like the normal world out there. And but 10 years from now, we're going to look back and see that every major energy producer has Bitcoin mining in some way, shape, or form incorporated into their infrastructure, into their operations. And then once you have mining incorporated into the energy infrastructure across the world, it's so impossible to extract it back out, because the synergies and the incentives are just too strong to ignore.